A very interesting and important announcement, which very much flew under the radar. Let's put this up there on the screen. Our friend of the show, Matt Stoller, spotted this. Secretary Tom Vilsack, who is the Agriculture Secretary, is encouraging Joe Biden to rejoin the Trans-Pacific Partnership. This has completely been under the radar, Krystal. It was for a InsideTrade.com. There's actually a lot of these. There's a lot of news that gets made in these trade publications, in this case, a literal trade publication. And this is what Tom Vilsack said. He said that the Congress, the administration, should start working now to renew trade promotion authority so the U.S. is able to pursue future trade goals, such as concluding negotiations with the United Kingdom, opening new markets in Africa, and potentially even rejoining the comprehensive and progressive agreement on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack said yesterday. So bringing that fast track authority both for the trade agreements, but specifically mentioning TPP there. Like Stoller was saying, I mean, that's probably like working for the Trump 2024 campaign. Totally. But more importantly, we covered this in the beginning. There was a Wall Street Journal piece that we found that buried within it a Biden advisor saying, well, maybe we're not ruling out completely rejoining TPP. Now one of his own cabinet secretaries, who, by the way, this would be the greatest gift, ever to big business, really, whenever it comes to this, is advocating for rejoining the Trans-Pacific Partnership. It's like they haven't learned anything. Even though Joe Biden was very wishy-washy on TPP, we should remember this is an incredibly important political event that happened when both major candidates turned against this trade agreement. And it's like they just want to basically not remember history.
TPP was one of the biggest beginning points for sort of like the fracturing in the Democratic Party. That's and right. Also for the rise of Trump. I mean, this thing was really pushed hard by Obama. I remember him flying to the Nike factory, making the case for it, really bringing this to the American people. This was one of the only issues at MSNBC when I was there that there was any sort of divide outside of like, yay, Obama. There was actually a little bit of dissent on this. And then that turns into the Sanders campaign. Hillary Clinton tries to clean up. She'd previously said this was the gold standard.
Oh, yeah.
She tried to go back on that, ended up looking completely disingenuous. Sanders made a lot out of it. Trump made a lot out of it. And the reality here is there are very good reasons to not like TPP. This was essentially, to bottom line, I mean, it was written by corporate interests for corporate interests. That's what it is. It's standard issue, like
under
NAFTA
the guise
type,
of confronting China.
Yeah, NAFTA type thinking brought into the new era. Biden, clearly as part of the Obama administration, was very central in selling this and part of this development as well. Vilsack did not get nearly enough attention or credit for being as terrible of a choice for this position as he actually is. He was also Ag Secretary under Obama. And during that time, that was a time that was devastating for family farms. Incredibly great for giant agribusiness.
Right.
In the off-season, after he left the Obama administration, during the Trump administration, sold out to every big corporate, was sitting on these big corporate boards and getting even more entrenched with big ag. And so this is consistent with the type of thinking that he ultimately has. He's got this super old school Clinton era free trade ideology that he is now using from his position to try to push into the Biden administration. Very troubling and important development that Stoller identified.
It definitely is. And, Tom Vilsack was a huge proponent of TPP at the time. And it always annoys me how little scrutiny agricultural gets, because it's one of the main sectors of our economy, which is monopolized to one of the worst extents.
100%.
And benefits to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars, like a select few corporations. Every once in a while, some documentary comes out, or like Monsanto or whatever. But even, Monsanto is like one tiny little part of what this entire industry is, of all the grain that we put inside of our body every year and export to the entire world. This has massive geopolitical implications. And yeah, I think it's incredibly troubling to see Tom Vilsack pushing TPP inside the Biden administration. We know now that this is explicitly saying this in public. Who the hell knows where they're going to push for and what they're going to try and do 2 years from now, when the pandemic and all of that is over and some of the political heat has maybe died down. They may think they're in like the new neoliberal moment, and we should very much make sure that that doesn't happen.
Definitely keep an eye on this one. All right, more Rising for you after this.